something rather different. Tackling poverty in the VSO way, which is not immediate aid and succour, but a much more long-term capacity building thing, I think will depend on having very experienced senior people who can work in teams to change some aspect or another of a country's system. And once you've changed a system, you've probably made a change for a generation.
I've never travelled to Southeast Asia before, so arriving in Cambodia was already something of a shock. The heat hit me in the face as soon as I stepped off the aeroplane. I can remember my first morning walking the streets of Phnom Penh and being absolutely horrified at the traffic. Just simply crossing the road seemed almost impossible. It's quite a shock when you first arrive here to see just how basic things are here. When you visit schools, you realise that they have absolutely no resources at all. It's not a question of few resources, they have no resources. One of the things that I'm very involved in is leadership and management training within schools. So talking to directors of schools and clusters and training directors here in the provincial office to use their own initiative, to use their own ideas, to be more creative and to identify areas of their schools or their offices which they can improve. So part of my role is to encourage them to use their natural talents and also then to give them more focused training. They've had no experience of working in an independent, innovative or creative way. So even though they have the ideas, they're very often too frightened to use them. So part of what I do is build confidence in the skills they have, and part of what I do is to refine those skills and give them some more training, I suppose you would call it. On Pusray, it's about what it's like to be a woman, what it's like to be a girl, and why girls have particular difficulties in going to school. And girls especially tend not to get to school very often because they're needed at home to look after younger siblings. And if there's a choice in a family of who goes to school, it's almost always the boy who gets the education. I think it's very important in a country like this, which has such a vast human resource gap, that they don't waste 50% of their population who clearly have the intelligence but often don't get the education, because they're often the ones who are kept at home. So that's another reason why this project is so important, to encourage people to send their daughters to school as well as their sons. I feel that when I go back to the UK, I will have built a whole range of people skills which previously I didn't have. You think you've got people skills. Working as a head teacher in the UK, you think you have people skills because you're used to dealing with people of every strata. You're used to dealing with education officers, parents, cleaners, teachers. But you come here and you realise just how vast your repertoire needs to be, and mine has developed hugely. I know that when I go back, I will be a much better educator in the UK as a result of my experience here.
It was really exciting. I've never been any further than France before I decided to go, and so I had mixed feelings. But one was just liberation, really. I'm going to go somewhere I've never been before. I'm going to find out a bit more about the world. I'm going to get a life. And I've got a little bag of skills that I can take with me that maybe will be appreciated in a different way. I was Education Support Management Officer. What that actually meant in reality was something I had to develop myself, because I very quickly learned that I couldn't go with this toolkit and open it up and say, here you are, I've got some brilliant ideas. I had to listen to these people, find out what kind of world they were living in and how they were working before I could move forward. Got back to the UK. It was mind-blowing, really, coming back, worse than going away. I came back into another headship. I can't say I got my old job back, but I came back into the same role. A lot of things that I brought back, a lot of the fabrics, so that when we're doing our art and textiles work, fit in so well, because they're just a contrast to say, this is what you do, and this is what I saw happening in Ghana. That's right. Were you telling me anything about this one?
This is a farm, we think.
Uh-huh.
And there's all like, these are the pig huts and chicken huts, and they have to go in a, like wood, string wood roof and muds for the bottom.
That's right. This is the mud wall, isn't it? And
Yeah.
this part is the straw. From a personal point of view, working in British education now is quite different. Every time something comes out from government or the county, it's as an initiative, I stop and on my screensaver on my computer, all my Ghana pictures, and I look at that and I say, right, which is really important? And I take the line that's best and I address priorities that I have to, but all the time I'm looking and say, what's the best thing for the children? So things are changed for me in the way I approach things, and I know what I think is best for learning, and in fact it fits in very well with what the education system is trying to do now. I don't think I'd have done that if I'd stayed through from my earlier experience and carried on, but coming back into it, I can see that self-evaluation is the tool that you must use, otherwise there's no point. I think that educationalists in general can learn from this kind of VSO experience or anything like this, is what the real larger world is. And it's to step back and say, what really, if you stripped away everything, what have we got? And how to move forward with that and start looking back at ourselves and the world that we're all coming into now. And it can only help by going to see places like VSO travels to. What's learning all about? That's my passion. It's not about education, it's about learning. And by helping people through things like VSO does, you just see that in a much wider perspective.
For all children to receive a basic primary school education has been an aim which VSO have had and have been working on for many, many years, in fact decades. In the past 2 to 3 years, schools have wanted to develop and extend the global understanding of the world in which the children both currently live and will live in the future. So developing the international dimension has become a natural extension of the work that's going on in schools. The work that NHT are undertaking alongside VSO and alongside partner organisations like the Department for Education and Skills, British Council and DFID is exactly complementary to that aspirational goal. What we would all want to do is make it a reality.